Interesting things is that Bitcoin adoption happened in a very, very special way. Most technology is first used by militaries and nation states, then the corporations adopt it, and finally the average person is given access to the technology.
Bitcoin adoption has unfolded differently from past technologies. Instead of being led by governments or corporations, it was first embraced by individuals. Now businesses are catching up in a big way. According to River's 2025 report, corporate Bitcoin inflows during the first 8 months of 2025 exceeded the total for all of 2024 by $12.5 billion, with treasury companies accounting for 76% of purchases. While even a 1% allocation since 2020 could have added billions to corporate treasuries, firms today are committing an average of 22% of net income to
technology.
Bitcoin.
This has happened with the internet, with phones, computers, and many other innovations over the last century. But Bitcoin's been different. The people adopted Bitcoin first. Nation states, they thought about banning it. They fought it. Corporations, they thought it was too risky. They avoided it. It was the average person who did the work to understand the asset. They realized the market opportunity, and they took the leap of faith to buy and hold the world's first decentralized digital currency. And those people, they've been rewarded well for taking that risk. But now corporations are working hard to catch up. Bitcoin platform River just put out a great report showing how large a percentage of Bitcoin purchases are now coming from companies rather than from individuals. Sam Baker and Vincent Lee write that businesses have emerged as the primary force behind Bitcoin's ongoing bull market. In the first 8 months of 2025, Bitcoin inflows onto business balance sheets have already exceeded the total for all of 2024 by $12.5 billion. Now, a big reason for this significant increase in accumulation from businesses has been the recent rise of publicly traded Bitcoin treasury companies. Everyone's talking about them. The report says that these treasury companies account for 76% of all Bitcoin purchases since January 2024 and 60% of publicly reported business holdings. Now, ever since MicroStrategy became the first public company to hold Bitcoin on its balance sheet, we have seen an explosion of other companies follow. It's estimated that there are now more than 50 other public companies who hold at least 10 Bitcoin each. And these companies are not just in the United States. In fact, the Bitcoin treasury phenomenon has become a global game almost overnight. There are public companies in nearly every market who continue to convert their local currency into digital sound money. And I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. So it's obvious these treasury companies are a big reason for the continued Bitcoin bull market. But it's important to remember that although these companies are buying a lot of Bitcoin, they are still slightly behind funds and ETFs, which are the largest category buyer of Bitcoin so far this year. Now, it's healthy to have various types of buyers in a bull market, so it's good to see the demand coming from funds, ETFs, treasury companies, private businesses, and individuals alike. But let's go back to the idea for a second of companies holding Bitcoin. Most companies are never, ever going to put majority of their balance sheet into Bitcoin. They just think it's too risky or it's too new for them. At least they're not going to do it in the short term. So a much more realistic scenario is for companies to put 1% of their balance sheet into the digital asset. 1% may not sound like a lot, but look at the difference a 1% allocation would have made for Microsoft, Google, and Apple since 2020. Each of these companies has seen their balance sheet's purchasing power erode from $14 billion to $21 billion since 2020. Just think how crazy that is for a second. The silent tax of inflation has stolen $14 billion of shareholder value in half a decade. It's crazy. It's insane. If these same companies had allocated only 1% of their treasury to Bitcoin in 2020, they each would have seen a treasury gain of $14 billion to $29 billion in that same half decade. We're talking about a $25 billion swing or more in each one of these companies. And the risk that they would have had to take was only a 1% allocation. It seems like such a no-brainer in hindsight. So this brings me to my last point, which is what companies are actually doing in terms of their allocation percentage. River's data shows that many businesses are actually allocating far more than the hypothetical 1% to Bitcoin. Businesses using River allocate an average of 22% of their net income, according to a July 2025 survey. The median allocation is 10%. So there you have it. An allocation as little as 1% would have had a profound impact on most companies' balance sheets since 2020.